Hola, hola, ¿cómo están? Bienvenidos a Lima. Welcome once again to Lima, Peru, and to this corner where we discuss history, we discuss beautiful destinations in Peru with your tour guide, Vanessa Vázquez. Thank you so much for your participation. Hola, Annette, ¿cómo estás, amiga querida? Dear friend, hello. Thanks for joining. Thanks for being here. And also welcome you all to this series. This is a series dedicated to the most important, most famous, I think also most valuable destinations we have in the country, even though, well, Peru is so rich and even the most little towns have like beauty of its own and value, or especially to be visited by tourists from all over the world. I'm focusing in destinations that are already prepared to receive massive amounts of visitors in the country, and that are probably not so famous still in these days. They are not so publicized as, of course, the beautiful Machu Picchu, which is the gem of the crown, the gem of Peru. Well, today we will be discussing more history, this time about Arequipa. And in particular, we will finally go to see different attractions, different places, different touristic destinations that are indeed, well, interesting to anyone, to locals, and also, well, to international visitors. Annette says, how are you? Oh, I'm doing great, Annette. Thanks for being here today, and also sending a big hug to the sunny California. I hope the climate's still sunny and pretty, but I know also in the north hemisphere, the days are shortening, and also the climate is getting colder and colder. For us, it's the other way around. Well, here we are in the southern hemisphere where the sun is starting to shine. Not particularly today. Today is a little bit gray. It's a great day for Lima. But, well, the climate is getting better and better every day. So today, well, as I said before, we will be traveling back to Arequipa. Arequipa is in the south, let's say, part of the country of Peru. It has also coast, but most of the department is in the zone considered the Andes. If you want to learn also about, let's say, the other parts of this series, because this is the third part actually of Arequipa, of my series dedicated to Arequipa. Also, you can subscribe to my Patreon, and you can find me on Patreon as History with Vanessa. And I will be also delighted to share with you, well, all of these series. We already have, well, 4 parts of dedicated to Cusco, 5 parts dedicated to Lima, 4 parts dedicated to Ica, and, well, this time Arequipa. And of course, there will be one more event next week also about this location. So, well, now let's begin sharing. And let's go now to this. Very good. So, a better, let's say, appreciation, and look at all of the images we will be sharing also and talking about today. Well, so we continue with Arequipa. In the previous parts of this series, we discussed about its location in depth, in detail. I already mentioned where Arequipa is in Peru. Also, we discussed about the history of Arequipa before, well, the conquest. We went really, really in depth into the different societies and different archaeological sites you can see in that location, that part of the country, but especially trying to give us an idea of how rich culturally this part of the country is, and also how unique, because every department in Peru has its own pre-Hispanic roots. This is a really big country with, well, the Andes as a main element that has contributed into the differentiation in terms of climates and geographies and elevations also. And well, nowadays, well, for us, it's easy to move from one part of the country to another part of the country that is quite far away by maybe car, by bus, by plane. It's so easy. In an hour, we are in the other extreme of the country. But back in those old days, that was impossible. No? The deserts, the geography, the high plateaus, the mountains made impossible moving from one corner to the other. And there were societies that, well, for generations never really moved from some locations. No, the ones that had to move, they moved because they had a necessity to acquire products from distant locations, from the jungle or from the coast, if they were in the center, in the Andes. And those traverses, well, were done in really, really special occasions, in a season that was more, let's say, like better, let's say, for doing such traverses. And well, those trips were done just for some few. No? So we are really talking about societies that didn't actually move much. No? And when the Spaniards came, well, they changed a lot of what existed already here for many reasons. No, they changed everything because, first of all, they had a duty to accomplish here, the evangelization of the locals. They had also another duty, well, to enrich the Spain, their homeland, and the king who they represented, and enrich themselves too, of course, to make profits from this land. And for that, they needed also the indigenous, the locals, to work for them, because they were not going to be the ones who work at the land, who plug the land. The indigenous, the locals, were the ones who, in their position of submission, under these Spanish authorities, these new authorities, they were the ones who would eventually provide as a service, as a way also of retribution. Retribution of what for? Well, retribution for the new education, the westernization of these societies, and the salvation the Spanish were bringing. And this is, well, the way how they saw things. Of course, they were saving the souls of the indigenous. Gracias, Annette. And well, I really, really take time to find like the proper pictures and the images for you, hoping that you enjoy also seeing them. And this one also, I really like very much. This is a representation of the moment of the founding of Arequipa. And there are lots of things to say about this moment. But what you can see in this painting, the inclusion of the volcano, the Misty volcano, which is one of the three guardians of the city of Arequipa, a city that lives amidst volcanoes. There are three volcanoes around, and actually the Misty is probably one of the most beautiful mountains we have in Peru for its perfect conic shape. So, well, the Spaniards came to Arequipa actually before the foundation date of this city. And let me explain a little bit of how this happened. And let's go actually to the next image to take you now to the coast of Arequipa, to a city named Camaná. And Camaná actually is the first Spanish city in the department of Arequipa. And the reasons why the Spaniards first established their city, their Spanish city in this region, in the coast, and not in the Andes, is because, well, first of all, this is an early stage in the conquest of this territory, the conquest of Peru, the conquest of the Tahuantinsuyo. So Francisco Pizarro, Marquis Pizarro, he was the chief leader of this group of Spaniards who in the beginnings were 168, later on more and more came from Panama. In this process of conquest and expansion of the Spanish power in a empire that was huge, that in size had about 2.5 million square kilometers. So it's over 2 times the size of nowadays Peru. So well, this let's say quest, this adventure in which the Spaniards were was indeed very dangerous. No, and it's not that the indigenous, the minute the Spaniards came, they just surrendered, no, and say like, okay, no, take everything. No, the indigenous were actually fighting for expelling the Spaniards from this territory for several decades. And there is even a revolution, an Incan revolution led by a authority that was a descendant of the Incas, that by bloodline he could be, of course, an Incan king. He was not recognized by the Spaniards, but previous authorities were recognized by the Spaniards as Inca kings, just as puppet Inca kings. And once they standed against the Spaniards, well, they were just dismissed. No? So, well, these Incas were trying to retake the power of this, the control of this territory. And Pizarro was trying to move from city to city. Well, in these first years after his arrival, 1532, he immediately, well, was able to see different cities. He established also cities. He meets Cusco, for example, no, this important city, the city capital of the empire, no, and then later he comes to Lima and he established the city of Lima in the coast. The previous capital was in Jauja in the Andes, and that city didn't work well. So from his experience, his previous experience, he started to understand basically over the march, no, like he was like learning from his mistakes. No, he realized that, well, building like a capital city in the Andes was not a good idea in case there were more attacks of the indigenous, or even attacks from fellow Spaniards who wanted to take from his hands the control of this territory. Because there were also other Spaniards who tried to take the control of this land from the hands of Pizarro. No? So, well, Pizarro, let's say, decides to go to the coast, establish the capital in the coast, because for him it was easier to get information, news by sea, by the Andes. The problem is that the trails, the Inca trails, which were very well known by the Incas, they could be intersected, they could be blocked also by the Incas. So in that way, well, he wouldn't be able to receive news, to receive information from the Andes. And if the situation was very, very difficult, he could escape from the city or receive reinforcement of soldiers and militaries. So, well, that's how later on, Francisco Pizarro decides to continue creating more cities. And this time he decides to establish a city southern than Lima, still yet in the coast, that will be at some point connected to Cusco, like more directly to the city of Cusco, as a way also of, let's say, a port to that city, because Lima was way too far away from Cusco. And that's how, well, the Camaná, which belongs to the Department of Arequipa, is established before the city of Arequipa in the year 1539. So, well, but seems that the Spaniards, they didn't really like much months after, well, the creation of Camaná, the actual location. There are also some situations that take place in that city that in a way also scare the Spaniards from that location, scare out these people. So one of the biggest problem that these people faced in the city of Camaná was an outbreak of a disease that could be some viral disease, a disease maybe transmitted by insects also, because this location is the ending of a valley. Also, it's very fertile, very green also, and probably there were some indigenous diseases that affected the Spaniards. But according to the explanations given for moving this city towards the Andes, the explanation is that indigenous and Spaniards were affected by this outbreak or by this disease. So finally the decision was made to move the capital to the Andes, and Arequipa was already, let's say, occupied by Spaniards. There are also stories of, for example, one of the closest men to Francisco Pizarro, Diego de Almagro, was already in this valley, in the valley of Chili River. Before it was officially established as Arequipa. No, it was just like a little location, little community that the Spaniards saw, and they established one church, and as always, no, and they tried to evangelize a little bit the indigenous, but it didn't became an important city, no, yet. No? So we're talking about the years 1538, for example. No, but the Spaniards knew already, this city, and later on, when it was made the decision of moving this city, this Spanish city, towards another location, people knew about how good was the climate over here, or how excellent was the climate in this location. So that's why Garcia Manuel de Carvajal is the person who establishes the city of Arequipa in the year 1540. And the original name of the city was Villahermosa de Nuestra Señora de la Asunta, the beautiful village of Our Lady or Our Madam of La Asunta, which is one of the different, let's say, names given to Virgin Mary in Spain. Okay, and also, it's important to note that the first city of Arequipa, the first part developed in the nowadays city of Arequipa, was not the section around the main square, the nowadays main square, which is a very interesting case, because usually, wherever you go in the country, and not just here, also in Latin America, where the Spanish sort of established cities, the main square is the zone where the oldest constructions, the oldest Spanish constructions are located. Well, this is not the case here, it's an exception. And that also based the fact that, already, the Spaniards were here before the final decision made for moving the city, the main city of this region, towards the Andes. Okay, so the oldest section of the city built by Spaniards is the so-called Barrio de San Lázaro. Barrio de San Lázaro. So this neighborhood has also very old constructions. It was established at least 1 year before the founding of Arequipa, the Spanish founding, and it has also its old traditional church, which sadly was also damaged by not just one earthquake, by several earthquakes. So it's of course it has evidences of restoration, and you can also see there the beautiful sillar, which is the material that is used in the old architecture of Arequipa as a distinctive element of the Arequipeño architecture. And also the first part of this series, I explain in detail what is sillar, but just, to long story short, sillar is a material that has a volcanic origin, and already the city of Arequipa is surrounded by volcanoes. And there is a quarry very, very close to the city that has this material, which is very lightweighted and also very easy to be carved. So that's why the façadas in Arequipa are most of them very beautifully carved. So it's very like malleable in a way. And also this material is not magma. Magma is way too heavy and not easy to carve. Instead, we will say like these are the gases, compacted gases from, or ash in a way, from the volcano, the products of the explosions of the volcanoes that happened like millions and millions of years ago. So those like quarries are right next to the city. And this material also isolates the interior from the heat in the exterior, and also keeps warm the rooms inside for the nighttime. And well, in the Andes, especially in this part of the country, the nighttime can be quite cold. So well, San Lázaro has these very narrow streets that recall Spanish alleyways, maybe in the south of Spain. Also, you can notice, well, this traditional like use of the sillar. And well, these streets also are not straight. And that's also another interesting thing to be mentioned. And that is because, according to specialists, San Lázaro, as well as the most of the rest of nowadays Arequipa city, were already zones occupied by indigenous. Okay, and the checkerboard design, the grid pattern design established by the conquistadors was completely new, unseen by the indigenous of, well, Peru, no, before the Spaniards' conquest. Yeah, the cities had certain like designs, and especially the sacred cities in Cusco. We revised also that in this first series about Cusco, about some very interesting cities and the shapes given to those cities. Cusco has, for example, the shape of the puma, no, the original city of Cusco. So we understand that, well, of course, the grid pattern was not used here by pre-Hispanic societies. With just like a couple of examples, like, for example, one case of Wari Piquillacta, for example, which is an archaeological site that has sort of like a checkerboard style, but not with the same intentions. No, the grid pattern here was to give like the equal amount of space to all the participants in the conquest, also to be able to, using the checkerboard pattern, and also placing, positioning the main square in the center and the houses of the leaders in the center, like they will have a better control, let's say, of what was happening in the surroundings. And well, the plazas were the places for market, for executions, for announcements, and etc. But here we can see that these streets are curvy, they are not straight. So this definitely is an evidence of a pre-Hispanic presence in this part of of the city. And probably the Spaniards will continue using the distribution because, well, initially this was not supposed to be, well, the center of that capital, because once the capital of the department, let's say, no, the city of Spaniards, of the Spaniards, was finally decided to be moved to the Andes. Well, the town of San Lázaro continued in use, but was not considered the zone that will become the center of this new Spanish city. So this is the zone that was designated as the center of this new Spanish town that, well, eventually became the main square of this city, Arequipa. So, well, Arequipa is also in the list of UNESCO's World Heritage Sites. We are very proud to have 13 UNESCO sites in Peru, and 3 of those UNESCO sites are historic centers. The Historic Center of Cusco, the Historic Center of Lima, and the Historic Center of Arequipa, being the last one, of course, the last addition in terms of historic centers to this list of UNESCO. So Arequipa was included in the year 2000, and it definitely has several great reasons to be in this list. It is the architecture number one. Like UNESCO considers, of course, important, well, the history of the sites to be included in the UNESCO list, but not exclusively. Also is the artistic value, the uniqueness in the architecture of that city, the one that sort of like becomes the reason for the inclusion. And also, well, the value that makes unique this place. So, for example, Cusco, well, has this Incan and Spanish elements, right? Like one on top of the other, right? Coexisting perfectly. Well, in Lima, we have the Spanish influence, the wooden balconies, for example, and the Baroque style, and the wood out also in those doors and balconies and rooftops, right? And the colors also in the houses. Arequipa has the sillar, no? The technology adapted, no? to the work of the stone, and also how the stone was used in this architecture. And also another thing important is, well, the sophistication in the decorations, this Baroque, mestizo Baroque, mixed blood Baroque, with elements coming from Europe, but also elements that are indigenous to this territory. So when you go to the main square of Arequipa, we can start also with the center, with the fountain. The fountain has this element on top that is an angel that was confused by many, many, many people for a long time as, well, some people said that it was let's say, a warrior, a soldier. Other people said, oh, it's an Inca. It's a little Inca, an Inca child that is on top in the fountain. But the reality is that, well, this is an angel, and the name given to this angel is Turututu. The Turututu, well, recalling the sound of the trumpet, Turututu. And, well, this fountain also is from the year 1735. So, well, here, well, is where the conquistadors, the Spaniards, established the city. This is the location of the Spanish foundation of Arequipa. And the location was done over some agricultural fields that belong to the indigenous that live in this location. Okay, so probably the indigenous were quite surprised. No, what's happening over there? But, well, finally, they indeed like agreed in having the Spaniards as friends and not as enemies. So, and over here, another view of the main square of Arequipa. Look at those arches. There are 90 arches around the square. Like this side you see, for example, this is the side of the square where is the city hall of Arequipa, which is right in front of the cathedral. And, well, from the 4 sides the square has, like 3 of them has this exact same design of archery. So there are 90 of those arches here in the square. And across is the cathedral. And also I wanted to show you the flag of Arequipa. The flag of Arequipa has right in the center the volcano, Misti. the misty volcano, which is a signature element of the city. And also another thing I like to talk about about the flag is the color. No, it's this sort of like burgundy color. Uh, well, the locals say it is because, well, it is the color of a chicha that Arequipeñans love very much, and I've also tasted. It's very refreshing, very delicious, and it's not like the chicha you try in Cusco, for example, which is different. Actually, the traditional chicha is made from corn. Jora is the name of that corn that is much more like, let's say, yellowish color. But the chicha made locally has as an ingredient, the main ingredient, purple color corn, which is not toasted actually, but it's sort of like grounded, no, and like sort of like a pressed, and well, starting from that, there is a process done in which, well, there's a transformation of the juice made from this corn into, well, an alcoholic drink that is very refreshing. So the name of this chicha is chicha de guagapo, okay, guañapo, sorry, guañapo. So the chicha de guañapo gives the name, sorry, gives the color to the flag of Arequipa. And also locally in Arequipa, people also drink anise, like anisette, which is like an alcoholic drink made from the anisette, and which is very, very strong. And it is used to also help with the digestion of the food from Arequipa, which is very delicious, but also a little bit heavy if you're not used to, because it has a lot of seasoning, chilies, and so on. So people drink anise, and that's, well, it's said that lifts you up, that puts you on fire. And to calm the fire, you have to drink your chicha of guiñapo. So, and over here is the Cathedral of Arequipa. It's a cathedral also that had a process of restoration, reconstructions due to several earthquakes that took place in Arequipa in many different times, and caused especially by the activity, the volcanic activity under the city, the one of the volcanoes. So the interior is decorated in a sort of like neo-Gothic fashion, and also has a lot of neoclassic in it. Okay, it's a really big cathedral. And inside the cathedral, there are also some things I would like to mention that are quite interesting. Well, they have an still in use organ, which also is surprising, because organs like this one, they are no longer like in most of my country, like in use. Now, they are just decorative pieces, but not used by people, because organs like this ones were made in the beginnings of the 19th century, and they were imported from Europe. So now there are not so many people that have the ability to restore pieces like this one, organs like this one, like to make also missing parts, or parts that are, of course, by the passing of the time, they get like ruined, they are damaged. But this one, as I said before, is still in use. There are also videos on YouTube where you can hear, well, this organ that uses like pipes, over 1,000 pipes also there, that you can see some of them clearly in the exterior. There are some also in the interior. And originally, well, this system used like several people at the same time, like 4 people at the same time, pressing certain like sections for like allowing like the air to come inside the pipes and produce the music while, well, the person, the musician, was playing the organ. So, and also another thing that I like very much about this this cathedral is this element that is also at the bottom of this pulpit, that is actually representing the devil. So you don't see in many churches in the world the devil inside the church. So that's not really usual. But here we can see this fallen angel, the devil, which is below the pulpit, and the intention is showing sort of like, well, the goodness, the church, like stepping over the evilness, which is, well, the devil. And every time the priest stands up or stays or goes to the top of that pulpit, sort of like he steps over the devil. And let's continue. Well, this is another famous church in Arequipa, Compañía de Jesús, the Church of the Jesuits. And the Jesuits church is just, let's say, in the corner, basically, of the main square of Arequipa. Is very, very close to the main square. It's one of the many churches. I had to do a selection, a very, very small selection, of places in Arequipa. And of course, I couldn't miss this one because of, well, the art that you see in the facade. Just starting from the entrance, the facade is incredibly decorated, probably like in pictures. And I try really to find pictures that show like the carving. Because of the white color, sometimes it's very hard to notice how three-dimensional this entrance can be. Like there are lots of elements, lots of flowers, elements related also with like endemic or indigenous elements, so like a representation of animals, of flora, of fauna, also a little like Jesus Christ is a baby Jesus also that is at the entrance, that has even like possible like a clothes of indigenous, like an unku, which is a shirt used in the pre-Hispanic times by men. So, well, that's also quite interesting. And even something that looks like feathers on the hair, on the top of the head, which probably is related also with a fusion or a syncretism of artistic elements and concepts that when the Spaniards came and they taught the indigenous to do this art, because it was not just that the Spaniards were carving for the churches. They couldn't do that. They were in less numerous than the indigenous people here. And now, well, with the new economical system introduced, the indigenous couldn't just block the land to make money. So there were some that became artists, painters, and they needed to learn how to do it, how was acceptable to do it. But also they added their own elements, their own cosmovision into this art. So, well, there you can see, of course, all of those elements that you see there, they are carved, or those are three-dimensional. And once you get inside, well, you can see also the beauty and the glory of a church like this one. So, well, this church you see is one of the many beautiful churches of Arequipa. I like this one because, first of all, the altar is huge. It's so big. It has gold leaf. It's so over the top, so decorated. This is what we call the Andean Baroque. The Andean Baroque is very over the top. So the altars needed to use a visual, sort of like a language that was visual only, because many of the indigenous that, of course, were welcome to come into the churches, especially during their process of evangelization, the indigenous didn't really understand the language, the Spanish language, let's say, as we Peruvians do now. Like this was a new language to them, and there were concepts in this new language that also they couldn't be easily translated into Quechua. They were trying to translate everything that they were learning into Quechua. But there were things that couldn't be translated, like concepts, no? Like the scene, for example. What is scene? Scene was not like scene, scene in the pre-Hispanic time. It didn't exist. Oh, so how can you understand that? Well, being a new concept. So the art should be visual. Those altars were sermons to the eye. And also on the left, you can see a part of the sacristy of the Church of the Jesuits, and the sacristy is also, well, the people from Arequipa call it proudly the Sistine Chapel of Arequipa. Well, because it's all covered in painting, covered in decoration, in flowers, in birds, and sort of like the dome, no? The top part is also like sublime. And that is also part of a circuit inside the Church of the Jesuits, so it can be visited too. You can also deduce that the Jesuits were very important, right? Very powerful. And they were indeed. That also caused them troubles eventually, lots of problems eventually, causing finally their expulsion from this territory after more or less 200 years of being here in Peru. They were expulsed in the year 1767, returning over 100 years after. And they couldn't recover most of their land, most of their churches. Some of them were absorbed by other orders. Some of them were taken by the King of Spain. But this location was indeed recovered by them upon their return. But they don't use all of their territory or their homes now. In this case, for example, this section, which used to be part of the cloister of the sort of like the new ones, the new Jesuits, in this moment is open to the public as a commercial gallery. So you can see it from just walking down like one block away the main square. You can just get in, get some souvenirs. I think there are some shops there of different like things, different products. And I think even there's a coffee shop there. So you can just go there, enjoy yourself. But once you get inside this part of the convent of the Jesuits, you can see, for example, the carved stone, the sillar, with like lots of elements. And it is a little bit complicated to know exactly what those symbols on these pillars mean. Of course, they were supposed to be purely like decorative, but some of them look like a sort of like um, a fusion between indigenous fruits and European fruits. So, for example, one looks like a say like what is this, like a racimo, I would say in Spanish. Well, like the grapes, no, like grapes hanging from one like, let's say, branch. And but the interpretation also by some other experts is that that's corn. So could be like an indigenous product or a European product, and so on. There are lots of different objects there that could be representing indigenous products, and at the same time could be representing European products. And also the fountain that also you can see a little bit on the left-hand side of this picture. The fountain has a puma. So there is a puma, actually several pumas represented there, which, as you probably know from previous events I've been able to lead here, to conduct here on YouTube. Puma has a big important symbolism, carries a big symbolism, is associated with the cosmovision of the Incas and pre-Incas, and we are not really sure what it is doing there, no? But well, it looks very pretty. So let's continue. And here we have a property that belongs to the Franciscans. By the way, before I continue, let me know if you can, if you can hear me also, if you can see the images clearly. You are supposed to be able to see images all the way until the end of this event, not just me. So you will do me a very big favor if you can tell me if you can still see the images. And also, if you have questions, please don't be shy with those questions. So this convent that you see there belongs to the Franciscans, which is another religious order that arrived to Peru right after the beginning of the conquest of this territory by the Spaniards, and as well as the Dominicans, the Mercedarians, the Augustinians, and later on the Jesuits. They also received in most of the cities established by the conquistadors very, very early in the process of conquest. They received excellent locations, quite big locations also, for like displaying, say, first of all, their churches, building their churches, building their convents or their let's say monasteries. So they usually were benefited with the best locations in the cities. And well, the reason is, of course, evident. No, if you benefited the church, like as a conquistador, let's say you gave them the best locations, like you would be blessed by God because they were the representatives of God in earth. No? So well, the Franciscans have a convent known as Recoleta, which is not far away from the city center. That's across the river. And oh, gracias, Mebe. Thank you, thank you. I'm glad that you are seeing me and you are hearing me also. Gracias, gracias. So I was saying that this convent, Recoleta, is also quite famous because, well, it has a library that is huge. The library of the Franciscans, and the Franciscans also had libraries huge everywhere in the country. And I don't know how they had the money and the power to have, like, per each convent, like no less than 10,000 books. But there are some exceptions, some monasteries and convents that had even more books. For example, this one had 23,000 books in their collection. And of course, books is information, information is power. The Franciscans were very powerful. And also, there is a segment in the library of the Franciscans here that is called the Infiernillo. Infiernillo. Infiernillo means the little hell. Uh, Infierno is hell. So the Infiernillo, the little hell. Why? Why we have a little hell in this convent, in this library? Well, the Inquisition in Lima, also, one of the roles they had was to confiscate, to persecute anyone who had forbidden books that were considered or marked as diabolic, or were marked as opposed to the church. And remember that this is the time of the Protestantism. Any book that related with the witchcraft, so those books were confiscated. Okay, documents related with the Hebraic religion, or the Jewish religion, also were confiscated, and so on. So these books were sent to different convents to be entrusted to the most loyal orders to the Inquisition, and about 3,000 books of these illegal, forbidden ones were sent to this convent here in Arequipa. And the books still are there, but they are not, well, open. This section, the Infiernillo, is not open to visitors. The rest, it can be used, but that section, no. And the only allowed to go inside is the principal of the order. No, no other person, even in these days. Imagine that. Very good. So, and now we continue with another of my favorite locations and destinations in Arequipa, in the city of Arequipa. This is the convent of Santa Catalina. Well, named originally after Saint Catalin of Siena. Oh, it says a Dominican, let's say, order. And well, the convent is itself like it's like a little capsule of time, a capsule in time, because first of all, when this convent was created, so we are talking about, well, the first decades after the foundation of Arequipa, about, let's say, few years, 1580, no, when this convent was created. So the convent, first of all, was created because there was a big necessity, according to, well, the people of the time, to have a nunnery for the, especially the most prestigious women of Arequipa. No? There was no nunnery yet in the city, so, well, this idea, no, this was imposed by the neighbors of Arequipa. So, well, the city of Arequipa back then was a very small city with just one floor buildings, narrow streets, no? And there was no space for such convent in the city. So it was necessary to take properties from four neighbors that lived in Arequipa. There was a sort of like a confiscation, let's say, of property there, and also the donation of one voluntary donation of one lady of high society of Arequipa to finally complete, let's say, the territory that will turn into the convent. But what is interesting, and this is an aerial view of this convent, is that that section of the city was already built. It was part of the city. So once the convent had lifted the walls around, let's say, to seal it as a cloister convent, and no one else could come inside from that moment on, the streets inside of that colonial Arequipa were trapped in time because nothing was changed until the 20th century, when finally, well, the convent was open as a museum. Okay, so the totality of this space is about, like, in this moment, about 2 blocks all together, more or less, that are trapped inside. And well, this is also, here I have some pictures of what you will expect seeing in there. No? So first of all, this is a museum now. Only guides from, well, this museum can take you in there, which is okay, but it's not like a guide from the exterior can take tour groups in. So these tour guides, which are all women only, they are the ones to teach you about the history of the nuns. And the history is fascinating. No? So at some point, there were about, well, 4,000 nuns inside. Sorry, so it's like, it was a big number. Sorry, 400 nuns inside, which is a huge number, because, well, this convent also had, additional to the nuns, servants. There were servants who lived with them, of course, women only, who lived with them. They were the ones who took care of all the necessities of the nuns, because we should not forget that these women, they came from the richest houses. Also, they didn't do anything. They didn't know how to do anything. Of course, they had a life of work and service, but more like for prayers, doing prayers, no, meditations and reading and things like that. Not really like working with their hands. No? So they had people like put inside the cloister to live with them and to serve them. So, well, this is a view from the interior in direction to the main church of the convent. And here you can see also some pictures of the inside of the little alleyways and corridors. And well, these women, they lived in this isolation for hundreds of years. So it's in the mid century of the past century, that, well, finally they decide to open the museum. And nowadays there are about 20 nuns living in the convent. So they still keep a section inside for them. Mm. But they don't need really that much. And actually, taking care of all of the house costs a lot of money. So that's why they charge admission fees that help also in the preservation of their house. So, well, here you can see some pictures of the inside of these corridors. At the end, for example, of the picture on the top is the kitchen, which originally was a little chapel that turned later into this kitchen, which actually the picture is in the opposite lower section. So that's how the kitchen looks like. And you can see also the dormitories on the top. These women, especially the ones of the higher status, there was a lot of money given from the family on behalf of that woman, donated to the order, and in return, these women were given like little houses inside. Inside this city, basically that was walled. So they had their little houses, very modest, of course, and by the side of the nun also sleep the servant. It could be one, I think, up to two persons sometimes that serve some of the women. No? And also in the picture, the bottom part on the left, you can see the locutorio. The locutorio, this is a view from within. The locutorio was the place where once a month, only once a month, the nun was allowed to come and to talk to their loved ones, to talk to their relatives, but just like let's say as close as sort of like this wall could take between like two person. And also, it's not that they could see the face of their loved ones, and the loved ones could see the face of this woman clearly, because between them there was a celosia. The celosia is sort of like a, a wooden gate, that has actually very, very tight, like elements like this. So in that way, you can see just a little bit, but not really much of the other person. You can hear clearly with no problem. So when women came into this place, they came with a bout of, let's say, perpetuous, like let's say, a cloister, perpetuous cloister. So that means besides chastity and all of that. No. So the vow they did was to be in cloister, not just for the rest of their life, actually for after even they passed away. And so much that when they died, they were buried inside the convent, not outside in a cemetery, let's say outside the city. No? So the nuns had to remain even after that here. It was a perpetuous, let's say, vow. Well, and here we have the mansion of the founder, Garci Manuel de Carvajal. And this is also an interesting example of the architecture in this occasion, more civilian architecture of Arequipa. A characteristic of, for example, the civilian architecture in Arequipa, domestic architecture in Arequipa, is it continues being, well, this material of sillar, as say the main composition of the walls and the interiors of these houses, including the rooftop. Look at, for example, in the house that you see over there from the distance, we have an aerial picture. The rooftop is white. And that is because even on the rooftop, there is sillar, the stone. Not like in Lima. In my city, the rooftop is mud. It's mud made, mud with bamboo, with wood, no? But you can see the mud. Also, there it's not possible because there is a rainy season too there. So that could collapse immediately. And also, well, this interesting like characteristic that you can see in this dining room on the bottom picture of these corridors that conform, let's say, the size of the house, that have this like arch style rooftop. We call it in Spanish cañón corrido. Also, it's an arch design or shape from beginning to end. Mm-hmm. Well, this house was in the hands of the founder of the city until his passing. Oh, he died about 10 years after he arrived to Arequipa, and he founded the city of Arequipa. The foundation is 1540. And he died because of sickness. And then, well, the house was given to, of course, his descendants. But since, according to the historians, that his son, who was the person in charge of the house, was not healthy, mentally healthy. So after he dies without descendancy. He is donated the house to the Jesuits. So the Jesuits kept the house as a place for spiritual exercises, which is sort of like a retreat, like building or house, and as a summer also house for them. Inside, there is a curious thing that you can find if you do a tour in there. There are evidences inside this house of the Chilean occupation of Arequipa in the time of the war with Chile, the War of the Pacific, that occurred between the years 1879 until 1884. So this is a drawing that was made on one of the furnishing pieces by a Chilean soldier. It even says there, Chilean. But this was the battalion number 2, the group number 2 of the Chileans who went into Arequipa and stayed several months in Arequipa. So they took this house also, and they use it as let's say, like sort of like a station, no, for them. And we have also another location, also, as I said before, we're just hitting the highlights. This is the Molino de Sabandia, or the Mill of Sabandia. And this also shows us a bit of, well, the sort of like the economical activities of Arequipa. Arequipa was a very important city during the colonial times. So their work, or their role in the colonial times, was first of all related with its location close to cities like Puno in the Andes, and also Potosí in nowadays Bolivia. Potosí was discovered by the Spaniards in the colonial times, and became the richest silver mine in the Hispanic Americas. And still nowadays, Bolivians extract silver from that mine. So thanks to the finding of Potosí as a silver mine, and that's what the Spaniards were, that's why they were here. Well, the Viceroyalty of Peru back then became also very powerful, and it was necessary, like other cities that connected to that final destination, will produce like products for the consumption in that city that was a mega city, Potosí. Arequipa, for example, because it was a countryside, beautiful countryside, valley location, produced like wheat, for example, different fruits. It produced also wine that was also exported, let's say, towards Potosí. Well, there were different products produced here. So the mill was used to make flour from different types of products that were harvested in that location. So that was the base of the economy of this location. And also, last but not least, we're coming to an end. I want to show you some bridges in the beautiful Arequipa, the bridge Bolognesi, which is a very old bridge. That's the one on the left. Is a bridge from the year 1577, and also the bridge Grau from the year 1884. Those bridges go over or cross over the river Chili, which is the river of the city, the one that gives water into the city, and also in the ancient times was channeled into the city, creating also the Incas for aqueducts, let's say, or channels of water that continued also in use during the times of the Spaniards there, during the colonial times. And the material of those bridges is, well, this time is not sillar, is stone, and also is there is a glued use between the stones, the rocks, that is known as calicanto, which is a glue made from water, sand, pebbles, and limestone. So that's the material. And we have also a more modern bridge, the Puente de Fierro, the Iron Bridge. That bridge, long time ago, had a train passing over. That was a train that used to go to Cusco from Arequipa. Well, and now we are coming to the end of this event for today. Thank you so much for your participation. Sorry that I made it a little bit long. I promised myself to make events not over an hour, but I keep failing. Sorry for that. And I hope you enjoyed also this event. If you wish to see also the full series, please consider becoming my Patreon. You can find me on patreon.com as History with Vanessa. Vanessa with V and double S. And well, with a little donation, you can become my Patreon from, we have tiers of $2, 5, 10, and 20. You can have full access to all of my material here on, well, originally streamed live here on YouTube, but now stored on Patreon. Muchas gracias. Now let's stop sharing here. And as always, thank you so much for your likes. It really means the world to me that you are with me every time I do these live shows. Next one is going to be on Monday at 11:30 a.m. Peru time, also same time like in New York. Easter time. So you are more than welcome to join me, and I hope really to have you, because next week on Monday, we finish with Arequipa. We come to the end of the Arequipa topic, and well, we will travel to another destination in Peru. Well, I think it's going to be North Peru. So, gracias, gracias. Yes, I love the convent, Annette. It's another of my favorite destinations in Arequipa, and also, well, the museum where the mummy Juanita is located. That's another one that is on my top list. Also, I don't want to forget to mention that I have a very good friend that does virtual tours in Arequipa, Elizabeth Puma. She's wonderful. She does tours every week, at least once a week, but I know she does many more times, live from Arequipa. So if you wish to also see her and many other colleagues, I will give you some links here to different Facebook groups that offer well, let's say, like the chance to connect with tour guides from around the world. I'm sharing these links here on the chat. And don't forget to follow Elizabeth Puma. She's really the best. And she's doing tours in Arequipa since the world pandemic. And she loves to walk out on the countryside, on the, like she goes like a gazelle up and down in the mountains. So well, she's super wonderful. So Elizabeth Puma, and I think her Facebook is Astonishing Peru. Astonishing Peru. So just in case if you want to follow her. Well, thank you so much for your participation once again, and see you, I hope, next week. Muchas gracias. Have a lovely weekend, a lovely, beautiful, blessed weekend. Enjoy your Saturday, enjoy your Sunday. And once again, if you don't have plans, visit my colleagues from around the world who are offering wonderful tours for you. See? Bye-bye. Ciao. Gracias. Sí, gracias, Annette. Thank you. Astonishing Peru. Gracias. Nos vemos.